Almost 80 years ago, on the 14th of March 1942, Prime Minister John Curtin gave a speech for broadcast on American radio. He began with this: "On the great waters of the Pacific Ocean war now breathes its bloody steam. From the skies of the Pacific pours down a deathly hail. In the countless islands of the Pacific, the tide of war flows madly. For you in America, for us in Australia, it is flowing badly." Now, Curtin was not one for doomsaying or hyperbole. Truly, they were the most fearful days that our nation has known. 8 decades later, Labor still looks to Curtin, not just to salute his strength of character or his sacrifice, but because Curtin's famous 1941 declaration that Australia looked to America was deeper than a statement of wartime necessity. It was an assertion of Australia's right, and indeed Australia's responsibility, to act in our own interests, to make our own alliances, to decide our place in our region for ourselves. And through 80 years of change, that principle of sovereignty has remained at the core of Labor's approach to our foreign policy and our defence policy. Whether in government or in opposition, we treat national security as the first priority, with our national interest at its core. Under my leadership, Labor offered bipartisan support for the Defence Strategic Update 2020, as well as for AUKUS and the acquisition of nuclear-powered submarines. We have engaged constructively and supported a range of national security legislation, covering issues such as cyber, critical infrastructure, intelligence and law enforcement. We have continued our long-standing bipartisan approach to the work of the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security. For Labor, national security is above partisan politics, and fundamental to our national security is our national resilience. As all of you at Lowy understand, Australia's national security is bound up in so much more than our defence capability, critical as it is. In the complex, interconnected, rapidly changing strategic environment of the 2020s, national security also means cybersecurity, energy security, economic security and, of course, environmental security. Keeping Australians safe means planning for global shocks, be it conflict, pandemic, financial collapse or environmental disaster, and investing in the country's capacity to adapt to crisis, building the resilience and resolve to ensure we can come through challenging times together. That's the other vital element of the resilience that underpins our national security, our unity as a country. Our allies and partners around the world are rightly describing Russia's unprovoked attack on Ukraine as an assault on the rules-based order that has stood since the creation of the United Nations. Russia's actions are also an attack on the values free nations hold dear: representative democracy, the rule of law, the right to live in peace. Just as we have long viewed it as Australia's responsibility to join in the defence of those principles and values when threatened abroad, it is also our duty to protect and nurture them right here at home.